Chapter 11, Rejection. Rejection, or the word no, is a normal part of life. I, like you, have been rejected and heard the word no many times. The key to learning from rejection, as you may already know, is dusting yourself off and getting right back up on the horse. This is sometimes easier said than done. Rejection comes in many forms. No matter how it's received, it always stings a little bit. You must always remember that you are a remarkable individual. You have a purpose in this lifetime, and when you find it, not even the word no can stop you. I could tell you a million stories of how I didn't get what I wanted, or how a door was slammed in my face, but I would prefer to tell you just one. I love the law, particularly the United States founding documents, Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, and the Constitution of the United States. I've read these documents and listened to them by way of audio programs numerous times. Every time I hear them or read a portion of them, I am inspired. Personally, I swore to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, by way of military service on 3 occasions. I am amazed by our founding fathers and the level of rebellion needed to begin a new country separate from King George III. These documents are living words to me that, in my opinion, transcend time and apply today as much as they did in the 18th century. This love of America and its law inspired me to attend law school. My first step was research. Fortunately, one man in my life that saved me from drowning in abuse during my youth. My uncle was a lawyer. So I started there. I asked him all the questions I could about law school and what it means to be a lawyer. From there, I branched out into reading about the profession. Once I had a grasp on what a lawyer is, I decided to begin the process of getting into law school. As most individuals already know, you must sit for the LSAT, the Law School Admissions Test. I was still in the military at the time, and my service took priority over my educational goals. But I didn't let that deter me. I studied at every opportunity. I didn't have much extra money for prep courses or tutors, so every paycheck I took a little bit of money and bought study materials and practice exams. I used every bit of free study material I could get my hands on as well. When I was done with the materials, I gave them to another individual to help him get on his way to his dream of sitting for the LSAT. My first test was scheduled for the day after my birthday. So like anyone with a passion and a goal, I celebrated my birthday within limits, just dinner with friends. I took the test and thought it went well. I was wrong. My score was low. This hurt me because I thought for sure I was ready for the exam. I didn't allow this to stop me though. I tried another way and began studying all over again. The second test went better than the first, but my score was still lower than I expected and lower than the practice exams I'd previously took. I decided not to let this limit me. In my mind, surely there must be a school that would accept someone who gives their all to the study of law, regardless of my score. I kept telling myself, someone will give me a chance. I was mistaken again. I didn't get accepted to the law schools I applied to. One school did accept me, but later withdrew my acceptance before I made it through orientation. I felt defeated. I gave everything up to attend law school. I moved miles away from my daughter, my family, and my friends. I separated from the Air Force after 12 years of service. I was completely out of my comfort zone, and the only school that accepted me was turning me away. It was one of the low points in my life. I didn't know what else I could have done. At the brink of depression, I decided to stop feeling sorry for myself and do the only thing I knew how to do. Stand up again, look myself square in the eyes, and try again. Law school was a dream for me, a way to continue serving my country, a way to protect the rights of every human being without a voice, a way to give back to my brothers and sisters in arms. I moved back home to the South and slept on relatives' couches. I read everything I could about the law. All the courseware I purchased to attend law school became my best friend. In theory, I was in law school, a law school with one student, me. I took what I learned from teaching recruits in the military and applied it to teaching myself law. I studied cases. I learned how to read like a lawyer. I studied history. I used the law books at the public library. I taught myself how to write case briefs. I listened to law school podcasts. I watched lectures on YouTube. I read the fine print on everything. I improved my logical reasoning. I used everything around me to teach me how to be a lawyer. I used the rejection letters as ammunition to power me to becoming the best law student I could without a classroom or a professor. I took the negative feelings of rejection and turned them into steam. As soon as I was grounded and my wounds healed, I applied to different law schools. One said no, but 3 said yes. One even offered me a scholarship. Rejection and the word no are not always bad things. Learn how to learn from the experience of being told you can't do something and use it to empower yourself. My aunt always said, the worst they can tell you is no. This statement is very true. For every no you meet with, there are probably 3 yeses waiting for you to ask or act. Do not give up on a dream because of a 2-letter word. Stay encouraged. Dreamers can never be tamed. Paulo Coelho. Chapter 12. Daddy, the best name I've ever been called. I would be remiss if I did not write about the most important role in my life and my source of motivation. Being a father is the greatest gift I have ever received. It has grown me into a man and taught me how to love miles beyond what I thought I was capable of. Like most other fathers, I feel a deep connection to my daughter. We are so very similar, and I fret the day she leaves me in search of her independence. Not because I want to shelter her, but because when she does strike out on her own, as she should, a piece of my heart will go with her. As a man, I have rarely exposed my soul or just how big my heart truly is to many people. I have always kept my heart under lock and key, and if you got any part of it, it was just enough to keep me from being heartbroken again. That all changed on the day my daughter was born. For the first time, I cried in public. I wept because her cry was like angels singing just for me. I am a father who is divorced. My ex-wife and I were headed down the road to divorce far before my daughter was born, but didn't actually divorce until after she was born. My reasoning for the divorce was because I didn't want my little girl to grow up in a household that lacked love. Of course, her mother and I loved her very much, and she is the center of both of our universes. But the love between us faded, and we became live-in roommates. I felt it in my daughter's best interest, as well as both my ex-wife's and my sanity, to divorce. It was another one of those hard decisions that shape your future. Shortly after my daughter was born, my ex-wife and I were back to the same routine. Caring for our child was my only priority, and I was unhappy in the relationship. I was stuck at a crossroad. I could stay for 18 years and force my daughter to live in a household that lacked love, or I could file for divorce. I settled for staying in hopes that the love would change and that someday I would fall in love again until I had one of the worst feelings I've ever experienced. I was driving home one night from a mission, a local training flight. It was about 3 a.m. when the overwhelming urge struck me to drive my car into a telephone pole. I calculated how fast I would have to go to do the most damage and hopefully cause my death. I took off my seatbelt, and every pole I passed looked more appetizing than the last. I then began to cry. A flood of tears ran down my face because I knew my daughter would never know the real me. Everything she would learn of me would be stories, and she would never feel me hold her. She would never get to dance with me. She would never have me to whisper pretty words into her ears. She would never have me to read her Aristotle's philosophies or poems by Langston Hughes. Through a veil of tears, I saw her sitting next to me in the car. I saw her at age 14 and how angry she was that I left her in this world all alone. It broke my heart, and I knew the only thing I could do to be there for her was to divorce her mother. It was a very difficult situation, and I am glad I made the better choice for both of us. Today she is my everything. Sometimes I feel like we are best friends, even though she's only 5. I feel like she understands me better than any other person in this world. My love for her is so strong. I'm even afraid to have another child out of fear that my love for her would change, as ignorant as that sounds. I know there are many good fathers in this world. I see you in line at the gas stations. I see you at restaurants sitting with your kiddos making small talk. I see you at the pools pretending to lose the race with your little boy. I want to tell you to stay encouraged. No matter what you have to go through, to spend just a sliver of time with your child, do it. They need you just as much as you need them. Being a father is a gift. It's not a burden. Your son or daughter has the possibility to teach you things about yourself that you could never imagine. I have been called many names in my lifetime by all sorts of people, but being called Daddy by my daughter is my favorite. Chapter 13, The Other Crayon. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Like many other Americans, my family are immigrants. My grandmother and her 6 children migrated to this country from Bermuda in the 70s. This was possible only because my grandmother married a Navy seaman. It's a tall order for a single man to take on a widow with 6 children. But he did it. Being in his shoes, I don't know if I could have made the same decision. But I like to believe that he loved her just that much. I was born the first male grandson in this country on Keesler Air Force Base in 1980. I spent most of my childhood in southern Mississippi. My complexion didn't win me many friends in Mississippi. My mother is Bermudian with very fair skin, and my father is African American with a reddish complexion. As a result, I came out with a light complexion and blonde hair. Most people to this day do not know my nationality or my race. I've had friends for years who are surprised to find out my ethnicity. I like to count this toward the beauty of friendship, that even though you don't know where someone comes from, the love of friendship extinguishes bias. Growing up in Gulfport, Mississippi, I faced racism and hate from both sides of the racial divide. I wasn't black enough for the black kids because I had white friends. I spoke properly, and my skin wasn't dark enough. I wasn't white enough for the white kids because I had black friends. I was poor, and my skin wasn't white enough. Imagine what this can do to a child who already doesn't have a father at home to guide him. I faced racism at every turn from both sides. I kept the racism I experienced during my school years hidden from my family. It was a constant struggle, and I always felt like I was in the middle. As I grew into adulthood, I noticed that this divide or struggle didn't stop. I've been met with confusion from other races even till this day. I have dated black women who think I'm trying to be white, and I've dated white women who have called me nigger. I do remember one individual whose words soothed my soul when it came to the color of my skin. I just graduated high school and entered into the workforce before my first semester in college was to begin. I cannot remember her name, but she was a 30-something brunette. There were these 3 girls that I worked with who constantly felt it necessary to berate me because of my skin color. They did this by way of jokes and sarcasm. One day, it got to be just too much. I was outside smoking with the 30-something, and she could tell I was upset. She then said the sweetest words to me I have ever heard pertaining to my skin color. She said, "Don't worry about what they think of you. One day, we may all look like you." Racism, ignorance, bias, whatever you choose to call it, separates us. We unknowingly continue to add to the divide by defining and pigeonholing groups of people based solely on their appearance. None of us are free from this behavior. It is handed down to us. The challenge is to recognize when you may be stereotyping individuals based solely on their appearance and changing your thought pattern in that moment. Instead, look at that individual as a piece in the puzzle of the world. Though their shape is a bit more jagged than the other pieces, they still belong in the puzzle and will add to its beauty when it is complete. Chapter 14, Loyalty. If I could choose one character trait that has the possibility to change every aspect of our lives and those around us, it would be loyalty. I am sometimes loyal to a fault, but it never stops me from being loyal to the next individual once I've decided to keep that person in my life. Reflection questions. 1. What does the word loyalty mean to you? 2. How do you express your loyalty? My friends and I have joked about this often, but I truly believe that if you can remain loyal to your God, yourself, your friends, your spouse, and everything else in between, you can become happier than you can conceive. I look for this trait in new friends. It is a tough trait to cultivate and maintain. There's no argument about that. But if anything, you must try. Try to look for the good in people instead of the bad. Offer your loyalty to that individual or party before you expect their loyalty to you, and you'll be surprised at how loyal they will be in return. When you are truly loyal to your friends, you would do anything for them and they would do anything for you. Of course, barring you from bodily harm and asking for a body bag at 3 a.m. That's a joke. As a member of the U.S. Air Force, I was separated from my family for many years. My friends became my family, and I treated them as such. In return, they loved and respected me back. I have built friendships the same as all of us. Friends that I know I can depend on when I need them the most. And in return, I would do the same. Every friend you have is different. Sometimes they are different in small ways, and sometimes the differences are large. If all your friends had the same interests, likes, and dislikes, it could make for a boring circle of friends, in my opinion. Chapter 15, Your Goals. It is my opinion that goals are necessary to achievement, both in your professional and personal life. I began writing my goals on paper during early adolescence. Below, you will find the template that I have used and continue to use to this day, as taught to me by an uncle. It was one of the first things I learned. I was 14 at the time, and like most neglected children, I had very little to believe in. This simple task of sitting down with my own thoughts and daydreaming for a bit gave me the hope that my future could be better than my past. When writing your goals, remember to make them realistic and attainable. Do not confuse realistic and attainable with any limitations. Dream big. Henry Ford was a big dreamer. His words inspire me when I write my goals. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. P.S. Remember to keep them somewhere you can see them either daily or every now and then. Do not just write them, use them. Goal sheet. Today's date. Blank. 6 months. Date. Goals. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years.